Hey everybody, Baldoric here. Today we are going to be talking about legendary Seliph, probably one of the most requested legendaries in the game. He's finally here, he's out, and he has a fairly interesting kit, some uniqueness to it, and not quite what I was expecting, but I think it is actually pretty good. So let's jump right in and talk a little bit about legendary Seliph, how to use him, and what I think he's going to be good for. So first, let's talk about his weapon, Virtuous Trifling, or however you say that, Tierfling? I don't know. Anyway, grants res +3. If foe initiates combat, or if unit's HP is less than 100% at the start of combat, it inflicts attack defense -6 on foe during combat, and if unit deals damage to the foe during combat, he restores 7 HP to unit. So, basically, after combat, as long as the foe initiated combat, you're getting 7 HP back. And again, if the foe initiates combat, or if your HP is less than 100%, you're inflicting attack defense -6. So he's got like a nice lull attack defense built in, and almost a mystic boost built in as well, which is kind of awesome. So a little bit of healing, great for tanking, obviously, because he's definitely geared towards enemy phase. And it's also going to be built up with his exclusive skill, which is Holy War's End. If unit's HP is greater than or equal to 50% and foe initiates combat, unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack before the foe can counterattack. Now, obviously it's basically like a desperation effect, but on enemy phase, which is kind of interesting. It's going to make it so that units that aren't prepared for Seliph to go in and attack them, like they don't have things like, null follow-up or like null C, whatever it is, to prevent him from getting those doubles off. He is going to be doubling on anything that attacks him on enemy phase, regardless of his speed stat, which is awesome. He's going to be doubling before they are able, he is going to be able to double before their counterattack, which is really good. So they're only going to get one hit on him, and then he is going to double. So, some great utility there. I actually think he's going to be a really good defense hero on Aether Raids, obviously only during the Earth season. But let's take a look at some of the builds you can use for him, and these builds kind of work for attack and defense with AR, or this build rather. Honestly, not a surprising build, probably. So this is kind of built like a Vantage build. However, the biggest difference is that we're still going to be using the Holy War's End. Biggest reason for this is because he will be able to restore a lot of the HP that he will lose if he does get that one hit off of him from the enemy attacking him. And then he just doubles them immediately. Now, with a combination of Soul and Holy War's End, he should be able, well, Holy War's End will definitely proc after the first combat, giving him 7 HP, which should be just enough sustain so that the next combat he goes into, his soul's going to go off to make sure he's going to get a lot more HP back. Now, you could obviously substitute this for Noontime if it's seeming less consistent for you, but for the couple tests that I ran, I thought Soul actually performed a little bit better. So I would personally recommend Soul here, especially because we're going to be comboing it with Pulse Smoke, which is going to help prevent that he will not get a special off on him. So he is going to be able to not have any specials in him, hopefully. Fierce Stance 3 is going to make it so that when he is attacked, he is getting that additional 6 attack, putting him at a solid 72 attack. His attack stat is massive, especially for a hero that's going to be doubling, right? That's 72 twice, like 72 attack, hitting twice on this enemy, with a lull attack defense effect on his weapon. So, really, honestly, a fantastic unit for this kind of thing. Now, keep in mind it only works well on enemy phase, so he might not be as good in AR offense unless you set him up properly. But I definitely think on AR defense he could be very good as well, but keep in mind that enemies can play around it, so you do probably want to use him on offense. But if you can set it up correctly on AR defense, I think it could be really strong as well. So it could go either way. I think it works on either attack or defense. Your personal preference. I think if I was going to use this unit, I would probably end up using him on offense season for Earth Legendary seasons if he is the Earth Legendary. That's probably the only time I'm going to use him in AR, but that's how I would use him. Now for Arena, that's a different story. So first off, we're going to build him to make sure that we're getting the max score. Now, notice that I use joint hone attack here. You could very easily just use the joint hone defense or whatever the skill is that he has already. I think it's joint hone defense. He comes with on his base kit, and you're going to score the same. The big thing that I think you're going to need to make this build work, Aether and Heavy Blade. The reason I think this works extraordinarily well, if you have joint hone attack going off, not counting any party buffs you already have, that's going to be a solid 71 attack. So Heavy Blade is going to be going off, which means, considering that he is going to be using his ability that allows him to double an enemy phase, he gets hit once, that's 1 charge, he doubles, and because of Heavy Blade, that's 4 charge, total of 5, Aether is ready on the next combat. Which is fantastic because it's going to provide a, it's going to basically give him a means to do more damage and also recover more health, which means he becomes a monster arena tank on that Earth season. So I think he is going to be one of the, if not the best Earth Mythic in the game at this moment, but definitely really strong. Now, keep in mind this build is for max score, so we're going to have like the Rally Attack Defense Plus. You can make this any plus skill in that slot. If you didn't want to use Aether and you wanted to do something that's like something that's going to proc every combat, right? You could use Ruptured Sky or like Blue Flame or something to that regard, and that would work really well as well. I personally think Aether is better because it's going to give him that HP that he desperately is going to be needing because he is a good tank. If you look at his defense and res stats, they're already 42 with a res at 34. And if you kept that joint hone defense on this unit, he'll have 47 defense. So he's definitely going to be tanking quite a bit. Even with 42, he still tanks quite a bit. And with the distant counter, it's going to help a little bit with his ability to like get Aethers and trigger more attacks. Keep in mind though that his res stat isn't fantastic, so make sure that his partners have some means of buffing that so that he will be a perfect tank. Okay? Moving on, let's talk about the budget build. Ideally, you want to pull plus attack minus speed if you only have 1 copy of him. Now obviously, if you merge, it won't matter, just go for the plus attack. But ideally you want plus attack minus speed. Now if you notice, I didn't really change too much from his base kit. I did give him distant counter, because let's be real, distant counter is like extremely important for all tank units. I think honestly without distant counter it's really difficult to use this unit. And I know this is a budget build and I don't typically put skills like distant counter in there. However, I'm going to say for a legendary unit, a unit that you're going to be using every single season, this is something that is worth investing in for that distant counter. If you're having a tough time getting it, you can use your scrolls, or whatever they call combat manual scroll things, whatever those new things are, the compiling scrolls. And there is actually the Valentine's Day Hector at the end of one of the trees, which will get you a distant counter. So that is a way you can get distant counter on this unit without having to pull a unit that has distant counter, but there are a lot of units that have distant counter now on a lot of banners, so it's not as difficult to get. If you cannot use distant counter, there are other things you can put in this slot that will perform well. If you want to just go for something simple, you could do Fury 3, because what does actually happen with Fury 3, one, you don't have to worry about the HP going down, because after combat, you do recover that 7 HP, which basically just means you're only going to be losing 1 HP after combat, because you lose 6, recover 7. So if the way combat works is you lose the 6 after the fact, because it's after combat you lose 6 and then you restore 7 as well. You should be getting 1 HP back after combat. Nothing fantastic, but it does kind of mitigate that Fury effect. But it also keeps him less than 100%, which means that he is going to be using Virtuous Trifering even on player phase, because he will be at less than 100%, which is kind of useful. Okay? Something to keep in mind. So that is totally viable here if you cannot put distant counter on this unit. Obviously, I recommend it, but if you can't, this, honestly, as a budget tank, with the only thing being invested distant counter, it works extremely, extremely well. Now, Fierce Stance here could be switched to any of the other stances. I would definitely recommend one that gives him attack. If you wanted to do something a little bulkier, you could use like a, you could try even doing like a Brazen, right? But keep in mind that if you're using Brazens, they're a little bit harder to get off because of his self-recovery. I personally, you would have to switch noontime for Glimmer or something like that as well. Personally, I recommend using Fear Stance or Stance that works on enemy phase that you think works well. Obviously, don't choose one with Speed, because Speed is pointless for him. Okay? So, but budget-wise, other than Distant Counter, very easy to build, performs relatively well, and is a strong tank on enemy phase. That being said, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked this video, consider subscribing. I'll be putting out more videos just like this for other Legendary, Mythic, Grand Hero Battle, etc. units. If you have a build that you like, or if you think there's something different I could have done, or maybe there's just a build that you think is the best build for him and you want to tell me, put it in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. If you want to find more things like this, the builds I'm going to be putting out, videos I'll be putting out, or any Fire Emblem news, consider following my Twitter. I make sure to retweet everything they put out as much as I can, and I put out some stuff for my own unit library as well. That being said, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you next time.